estate and sports are all about the numbers. And since this person does both, I thought it'd be great that I gave you some of her stats. When she started at Ventas and began her leadership in 1999, the market cap was 200 million. In 2019, it was 28 billion. Twice, she was named World's 100 Most Powerful Women by Forbes magazine. 6 consecutive years by Harvard Business Review as one of the best performing CEOs in the world. One of the 100 most influential people in healthcare, 6 times by Modern Healthcare. She's been chair of the Real Estate Roundtable, chair of the Economic Club of Chicago, and is an owner and member of the management committee of the NHL Pittsburgh Penguins 2016 and 2017 Stanley Cup champions. It's my honor today to introduce our guest, Debra Cafaro, Chairman of the Board and Chief Executive Officer of Ventas. Guiding today's conversation is Debra's long-term friend and mentor. She is a principal with Roseland Investments and a former president and CEO and vice chairman of Equity Group Investments. She was also at Schiff, Hardin and Waite. She was one of the first women to become a capital partner at that firm. She serves on many board of directors and a number of public and private corporations, charities, and other organizations. She's a forceful advocate for women in business, past president of the Chicago Network, director of National Partnerships of Women and Families, the Women Issues Network Foundations. She co-founded the Center for Executive Women at Kellogg, where she got her JD from Northwestern School of Law. Please join me in welcoming Sheli Rosenberg.
You describe yourself as a working class girl from Pittsburgh. I don't think of you in that regard at all. As I said to you many times, you've taught me how to get dressed, and that's not a working girl classification. So how did you get to have the drive and the passion that you now have and have been so successful in showing us?
I definitely describe myself as a working class girl from Pittsburgh because that really is who I am at the core. My parents were amazing, and I do believe some people just have an innate desire to experience things and to excel. And my parents certainly helped along the way, and they were very intelligent, even though they did not go to college. And my father also was a feminist before I think the word was even known in my neighborhood, because he had 2 daughters, and that was really important as well. And you know, I think if you have intelligence and drive, and you have love from your parents, and you're poor, there's no telling where you can go, because it's a good combination.
So you're a double domer. You went to Notre Dame on both, or just undergraduate?
I went to Notre Dame undergrad, and I went to law school at the University of Chicago.
Right. So how did you even get to Notre Dame out of Pittsburgh in a family that had no connection with colleges?
Yeah, well, I mean, really funny story. It was really through a sales clerk at a department store. And back in those days, they had college young women helping to put together wardrobes for high schoolers who were going to college. And I happened to meet her, and she said, you know, where are you going to college? You seem smart. And she was at Smith College, believe it or not, which I had never heard of. And I went home that day, and I remember asking my parents, well, should I take the SAT? And they said, I don't know. What do you think? And I said, well, I met this salesperson, and she thinks I could go to Smith College. And that was really how the whole college idea came about. There were 3 students from my high school who went to college. One went to Pitt, one went to Duquesne, and then I went to Notre Dame. And I really ended up going to Notre Dame because people I knew had heard of it. They hadn't necessarily gone there, but they had heard of it mostly because of sports.
We'll get into some of the feminist, if you will, things later, but going back to college, did you ever think about going to an all-girls college?
I did. I mean, Smith at that time was an all-girls,
Right.
all women. I got in, I remember going there when I was 16 years old. It was to visit. It was a little bit like Flashdance meets the Seven Sisters. And I really thought it was fabulous, but it really was a little bit of a bridge too far in terms of the backgrounds of the students. I still wasn't sure how I would make my way, whereas Notre Dame was maybe one iteration outside of my comfort zone. I think some of the other schools that I applied to were a couple iterations out of my comfort zone. But I still give that person incredible amounts of props for encouraging a stranger the way she did.
It made a world of difference in your life, absolutely.
It did.
So you were known to take calculated risks where you win. In 1999, you joined Ventas and admits that you knew very little about healthcare. What persuaded you to take that job?
Right. I mean, I had been to the doctor. That's about all I knew about healthcare, to be honest. Our mutual friend, Doug Crocker, called me. It was right after I had had a short stint in the business world as the president of Ambassador Apartments. And we had sold that company. And I had learned a little bit about being in the public markets and being an executive in real estate. And our friend Doug Crocker called and said he was on the board of this troubled company that was based in Louisville, but don't worry, he said, you don't have to move there. And they were making a change in the CEO, and would I like to consider it? So I said, wow, Doug, thank you so much. Let me do some work and I'll come over and talk to you about it. And so I did some work and I went over and talked to him about it and said, I don't know anything about healthcare. Don't you think you need someone who knows something about healthcare? And I'll never forget, he said, oh no, you have experience in the legal part and, you know, capital markets and REITs, and most of all, you have backbone. You'll be fine. Well, you know, I really trusted him in taking on that job. And I did have to commute to Louisville for 5 years. And I did have to learn about healthcare, which has been one of the greatest joys of my life, to be honest. And basically, it was a risk worth taking, Shelley. I mean, CEOs of public company jobs weren't growing on trees, particularly for someone, you know, who had had a 16-month stint or so in the public markets. And so it was a great opportunity. And I thought I could learn to be a public company CEO, and I could learn about healthcare, which is 20% of GDP. And even if I failed, it was so far gone, no one was going to blame me. So what's wrong with that?
The truth is, number one, this company is done fabulously thanks to Deb. The truth is, this company was in bankruptcy and she pulled it out and made it one of the most successful REITs in the country. And the truth,
with your help as well on the board.
So this is a story about a mentor dealing with a mentee, and the mentee has made me look like a child. She has so succeeded. So don't listen to a lot of the comments that she's about that. But it really was a gutsy move for a company that was really in trouble. And God bless you, really took it and made a huge success, which goes to, you are known for building teams, and you have an enormously successful collegial team. How'd you do that?
Well, again, it's really about where the company wants to go and what we need, and really putting together the kinds of people who are culturally simpatico but different from each other, so that they really do create a team and not all identical types of people. And that's really important. And I've been so fortunate to be able to recruit incredibly talented people who have come together, bonded, formed a really cohesive group, and really been willing to kind of take the hill and accomplish some really incredible things. And part of the recruiting message is, you know, there is nothing more fun than being part of a winning team. And we like to win. We like to win with integrity, and we like to win together. And that's the ethos of the company. And we've tried to maintain that as we've grown.
And what Deb's not telling is that the longevity of people on that team is enormous. There isn't much turnover, and each one of the people are perceived in their fields as being top of the ranks, and have
They are.
consistently done that. In
They
fact,
are. And one of the one of the
Deb-
tricks really has been to have longevity and institutional knowledge, but also introduce executives and others in the company to get new ideas and get fresh perspectives, and bring some in from real estate and REITs, but also bring some in from outside of the REIT space. And that has worked really, really well, and has spurred us to be better.
And the team has been a very cohesive, long-term group of people. So let's move to COVID for a minute. It certainly has captivated all of our lives, mostly negatively, but it certainly has captivated us. So what have been some of the challenges, both positive and negative, in running a company, particularly maybe a health company, during this period?
Mm-hmm. Well, Sheli, as you know, we've been through a lot of cycles, and we've been through a lot of crises, and have through those crises developed some real management skills for difficult times. Let's just say that. And in real estate, I would say crises come at least every decade, and we never know what is going to trigger them or what the particular manifestation is going to be on any particular company or sector or even economy. We do know certain principles, and COVID really challenged us really beyond our limits, I would say, over the past year, although I am very hopeful and encouraged now about what we see as we look forward. But it was an incredible management challenge. It was an incredible clinical challenge, being in healthcare and trying to keep people safe, and putting all the resources and relationships of the company around keeping patients, residents, frontline workers safe. It was certainly a challenge working remotely, but we were ready. And it was a financial and market-based challenge to make sure that our business stayed strong and stable, and that we had adequate liquidity to make it through to the other side. And those were all piled on top of one another. And obviously it was very stressful for individuals and their families as well. And so at the beginning, we were ready. I think we saw sooner than others, for a variety of reasons, what the potential implications and magnitude of COVID could be. And we have a long-term strategy of diversification that that made our assets stable, even though some were hurt more than others. And we were ready technologically. And so we were able to get through in a strong and stable position, but it is the hardest year that we've had.
So how has Ventas changed its strategic focus as a result of COVID?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm happy to say is when I think about crises happening every 10 years or so, one of the principles, as you know, of our strategy has been diversification in asset type within healthcare, diversification of operators, diversification of capital sources, because while you don't know that an external shock is coming, I've really spent the last 22 years with the team making sure that whatever comes our way, we're going to be able to withstand it and come out the other side. We've built a very resilient organization. And so the strategy going in was really what helped us a lot. Over the years, we've included healthcare assets, which actually did very well during the pandemic because of government support. We have medical office buildings, which continue to earn their steady Eddie reputation. In 2016, we diversified into life science, which has been one of the real estate asset classes that has done the best over the past 5 years. And the pandemic put an exclamation point, frankly, on how important it truly is. And then we have a post-acute business that also did well, and senior housing, which is the largest part of our business. And that was most negatively affected. But as I said, we're coming out of that now, and we see the encouraging signs from the vaccine, which is an unbelievable gift to all of us.
So one of the areas was research and innovation, which is really relatively new for you. How'd you get that idea? What made you want to try that?
Yes. So what unifies all of our asset classes is that they are all demographically driven. So 10,000 baby boomers become Medicare eligible every day. We know that the over 80 population is the fastest growing. So that population is going from about 12.5 million to 20 million by 2030. And all of our businesses really are supported by demand from those demographics. And the same is true for life science. And the reason that we got into it is we were seeing incredible capital flows into biotechnology, biomedical businesses. Those businesses operate in college campuses and also in major markets like Cambridge, Massachusetts, and South San Francisco, among others. And the most important point is that the researchers are really trying to address chronic conditions and other illness that affect really mostly the over 65 and over 80 population. When you think about it, by 2030, over 170 million people in the United States alone will have some kind of chronic illness. And the most cost-effective way and the way to extend longevity, but more importantly, to extend wellness to a huge population, I believe, is through these scientific breakthroughs. So
because
that's why we got into it. That is why we got into it.
And you keep doing it because I'm about to get into the decade. I'm going to need all the help I can get.
Well, those scientists, again, they're helping us beat COVID, and hopefully they're going to help us all live healthier, longer lives. That's what we're betting on.
I'm coming to your door front. So tell me what your office physical shape will look like. Do you expect to need as much space? Do you expect a fair amount of hybrid working arrangements? What do you think is going to happen?
Yes. I mean, I am a hardcore get in there together, build a culture kind of person. As you know, that having been said, I do believe that the work environment has changed. I'm going to use the word permanently, but it may be 5 or 10 years, but for all practical purposes, let's call it permanent. And by that, I do expect most employers, particularly those outside of real estate, because I think we have some people in real estate who will really not go with the tide. But every CEO in corporate America that I have spoken to is convinced that we will have some kind of hybrid workplace. We'll have fewer demands for traditional office square footage. There will be some kind of 3 and 2 or 4 and 1 or 2 and 3, whatever the case may be. And it's because that's what employees really, really want. And it's because it will also be incredibly cost saving. And I believe post-COVID, we are in a gigantic social experiment on many, many fronts, including what the workplace is going to look like. And it's going to be very interesting how it all plays out.
So more to come as we get closer and closer into the offices.
But we're going to adapt and make the best of it. I mean, I think we'll try to take the best of what we've learned during this time about our workforce and what they want, and the best of the culture that we had, and bring those together.
And are you still mostly remote?
We have been remote. We are remote until we're targeting Labor Day. And we are really consolidating some space also because of this expectation of what the hybrid workforce is. We've got, 3 years on our lease. It's a great time for us to learn. And so we're in good shape.
So you, as you know, are the Goldie Initiative Shiro for 2021, and totally well-deserved.
Thank
and
you.
One of the reasons that you have shown interest in this area for years is Ventas has always been and is now a leader in all aspects of ESG. Why is ESG so important? And how did you know that it should be so important?
Well, I am honored to be the Shiro and want to recognize all the good work that the Goldie Initiative does for women in real estate. It is really inspiring. ESG is environmental, social, and governance. And I really think about it as a fancy corporate way to say, we want to do the right thing as a corporation, as a good corporate citizen, and we are going to be contributors and not only takers to the world at large. And so very early on, that translated into a commitment to board diversity, a commitment to contributing to our communities, a commitment to making sure we had diverse hiring, that we were providing our employees with great health benefits and other training and career development. And more recently, I would say we've definitely stepped up our game. And more recently, it's been around sustainability, commitment to LEED certified buildings, commitment to energy saving, and also to racial justice, which we have always been focused on. But again, I think many of us are really upping our game, and rightfully so, to make lasting change in the area of racial diversity and equality and inclusion.
And in real estate, quite frankly, it's also gender. Real estate
Yes.
is significantly male dominated. How do we change that in any meaningful way in a reasonable future?
Well, progress is being made, I would say. And I think we need to just continue pushing, because the results on both gender and race are pretty slow. I think you would acknowledge that.
I would more than acknowledge that.
Yes.
I would
Yes.
scream it.
And so that's something that we can address and have addressed through diverse hiring slates, having a bigger pipeline, making sure women and people of color at Ventas We consistently review our pay and our promotion practices. And we're just doing more, frankly. We're doing more about where we recruit, how we recruit, whether we hurry up and make offers to diverse candidates as opposed to going through our laborious process that we all like so much. But if we have a good diverse candidate, we accelerate and try to make offers right away. So there's a lot that we can do. And then within the firm, we have affinity groups for women, for young professionals, for people of color that hope to make sure that these individuals are supported and can thrive when they join Ventas.
So one of your affinity groups is a women's network.
We have a women's network, definitely.
Tell us a little about it.
Well, it's funny because it's one of the things I'm not the boss of, because they don't want me to be the boss of it. It is a self-started, self-organized initiative that's run by the Ventas women, and it provides them with support and activities and speakers that they believe are valuable to the group. And it has really served a very important purpose. We have a goal of gender balance at Ventas, 50-50 organization, and we're within a couple percentage points of getting there. And I know we can get there. And that's by hiring more women and retaining and promoting more women at Ventas.
You have, I believe, 4 out of 10 of the people on the board are women, which is a unique percentage in
real estate. Yes.
Beyond real estate, but yes, for sure in real estate. Is your sense that makes a difference, not only in support of you, but how the company acts, how employees react to the board because of its composition?
Well, I really believe in diversity kind of top to bottom. And I believe the board is a really important component of our overall culture and our success, frankly. So having 4 women on the board who are phenomenal is a statement. It is a statement of who we are and how important diversity is. We also have 2 Black directors, which again, and each of these individuals is incredibly accomplished and has the right skill sets to help Ventas succeed. And the one thing I would say is all of these goals can be accomplished. They're just like everything else. If you want to do them, you make it a priority and you make an action plan, you will be able to achieve these diversity goals. And that is something that I think people want to say, I can't do it. I'm working on it. You know, you really can do it. In terms of having the women on the board, I would say it is a distinct influence, Shelley, particularly in the numbers that we have. But like everything else, each individual brings a different perspective to the table. And so it's great for our women to have that role model. I think it is really important to see our commitment, but at the end of the day, it's not enough. You know, we need to have that commitment up and down through the ranks as well. And it's a really good start, but it's not enough.
So no discussion with you could be complete at all if we didn't change to sports. So I have a couple of questions for you. One, why do you think sports are so important in the growth of the human being?
This human being?
Well, for sure, you. Yeah.
Well, in Pittsburgh, which went through its own kind of hard times, if you grow up there, sports is the unifying fabric of the city. It is gender blind, it is socioeconomic blind, it's racially blind. And frankly, the 3 sports teams in Pittsburgh, I believe, were partially responsible for keeping the city together during the period of time when the steel mills closed and before Pittsburgh has really experienced somewhat of a renaissance in education and medicine and technology, which is where it is now. And it is just part of, if you can meet people from Pittsburgh in any city, anywhere, and we'll all be the same. We all talk about the Steelers, and that's how we grew up. And it connects you to your family. My father and I spent lots of time going to baseball games and football games together. My mother was a huge sports fan as well. And it's kind of what brings people together. And I like things that bring people together.
So if you don't know you within minutes know what a fanatical sports person you are.
Yes.
You own a piece of the Penguins. How
Yes.
did that happen?
Well, one of the things that is a luxury of the working class girl kind of made good is that you have the opportunity to be a sports owner. Everyone has different dreams and aspirations. Maybe some people like boats or jewelry or cars or other kinds of investments. I have always thought that being a sports owner would be just a great, fun, incredible investment to make. And I had the opportunity in 2016 to become a partner of the Mario Lemieux, the magnificent one, who is the former player and owner of the Penguins. And it all sort of just came together because many of the people involved in the team were people I had either known or grown up with or things like that. And as soon as we invested, I was able to win 2 Stanley Cup rings. So nothing could be better. I mean, there is nothing in Pittsburgh other than owning the Steelers that gets you to be more popular.
So do we look forward to you trying to buy a piece of the Steelers at some point as well?
Well, Ventas is going to have to be at least 100 for me to do that. So you heard it here first. If Ventas is 100, then you can check on that.
Are there other women owners on the Penguins?
Not particularly, no.
I always thought that women, by and large, did not participate in the ownership of any of the sports. Penguins not being unique in that regard.
Well, Laureen Jobs is a part owner of the kind of Washington sports group.
Okay.
And others are starting to invest. And so I'm not alone.
Well, and I want to see you own the Steelers and the Pirates pieces as well.
I just want to drink from the Stanley Cup again.
Yeah, and I remember the party you had at the house, the Stanley Cup standing right in the middle near the entrance. So thank you, Deb. You've answered all my questions. It's been a pleasure talking to you as always, and I love watching your successes.
Well, thank you, Sheli. You've been my role model since I was a second-year associate, and you've shown the way. I'm very grateful to you as well.
And as I said, I may have shown the way, but you're leading way beyond anything I could show you. So
thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Debra, Sheli, your insights were just so valuable. What a great conversation. It was so great to hear about how sports played such a big role in your life, Debra, and your leadership styles. And it's great to see how sports and business can really connect. We're excited. Obviously, you're going to be, honored as the 2021 Goldie Initiative Shiro. It's an important event, and thank you, Goldie, for all the hard work and how the whole initiative and how you're trying to elevate women into senior leadership positions and C-suites. Again, Connect is very proud and honored to be a part of this very important conversation. Thank you all for joining us today.